If you have clicked in to watch this presentation, I'm guessing that either you are feeling entirely overwhelmed by all the technology that is out there and are not sure quite how to incorporate it in your homeschool classroom. Perhaps you are struggling to work out how to impart knowledge to your children when you feel that you're not even keeping up yourself. On the other hand, you may be watching this because you love technology and you're hoping that I'm going to teach you a few things that you don't know. Well, I do hope that this presentation will be useful to both types of people. If you do feel overwhelmed by all that I'm going to tell you, just pick something, one or two things, and start with that and just add to it as you go along and feel more familiar. Let me just tell you a little bit about myself before we start. As you can hear, I am not a native-born American. I do come from South Africa. I've always been involved in technology. From when I was young, my dad bought a computer. It was one of the first ones in South Africa. We were a little bit behind America, but we did have we had computers as teens, and in fact we started running computer training classes for children, teaching them to program in Applesoft Basic. I carried on through college, and although I did a degree in English and German, I ended up actually working as a computer programmer for Shell, and so tech was still a huge part of my life. When my husband and I got married, we chose to buy computers rather than a TV, so that we could continue in our tech adventures. I've always loved gaming, I must admit, so my children do remember sitting on my lap and playing various adventure games. Most of them really did involve critical thinking skills, and we had a lot of fun together as a family as my children grew up. And then we moved across to America and I started homeschooling. I did always incorporate tech into the homeschool as much as I could. My children all loved computers. They learned to build their own. My boys did. The girls didn't show any interest. Both my sons have gone on to become computer programmers, and my daughter studied film, so she was using extensive editing, and my younger daughter has been using it a lot for photography and various other projects that she's been doing. She's got very good with Google Drawing as well, which I won't really be touching on in this talk. I do teach both live at our co-op and online, and so because of that, although I am no longer homeschooling, I am still dealing with homeschoolers all the time, and I love using technology in both my live classroom and online because I see how the children just relate to it. In addition, I use technology in my own life, and so I'll be teaching you both those things as we go through this morning. What I do want to say is that there is a lot more technology out there than what I'm going to be talking about. There is just a never-ending amount, so I'm just picking and choosing a few tools that I use and think might be useful to you. You do not need to take notes. Everything is in the handout. The handout is literally a copy of my slides as I go through them, and there will be links to all the websites so that you can easily go into them. Everything I'll be sharing with you has a free option if it is not entirely free. So apart from one or two things, and I will mention the things that I know that might have a small cost, but pretty much everything is free. So let's move on to the presentation itself. I'm going to start looking at staying organized, which is something every homeschool mom needs to do. And to start off, we're going to look at scheduling. Gmail is very useful to use as your email client. One of the reasons is you do have the option of separating out what's more important to you and what your promotions are. There are also some tools you can use. One tool which I used to use, I haven't been using recently, but there is a free version of it, is something called Boomerang, which I'm going to start off by showing you. This lets you control how you send and receive your emails, as it says. And I'm not going to go into this in too much detail, but I just want to say it does let you pause. If you actually will look at the pricing, because you can see what you get in the basic. It lets you choose to send an email later. So for instance, if you wanted to land there first thing in the morning, you can tell it that you want to schedule it to arrive at 7 o'clock in somebody's inbox. You can set reminders with it. You can check and see read receipts and response tracking and who's clicked through. You can also pause your inbox. So if you're feeling inundated with emails and you just don't want any more to come in because you know that you're just going to want to respond to them, you can just pause it. But you could also, the reminders over here, let me just explain that. What it does is, if you know that you need to deal with an email but you can't do it now, you can tell it to boomerang and it will come back to you later, and whenever you tell it to, a day later, 2 days later, a couple of hours later. So maybe when you don't have kids all around you yelling and you know you still need to deal with it, you can send it back to yourself. So it's a pretty cool tool to use. You can see you get 10 free per month, and if you really love it and you want more, you can pay. I only use the free version. Then I can suggest this to you if you're really struggling to fix your inbox up. It's a little 21-day course called Revive Your Inbox, and it just helps you to better deal with your inbox. So if you have inbox overwhelm like I do, this is a fun course that's free to take, and it will just go through little things you can do each day, and you can see some tips here just how to search through your emails. Google Calendar. If you're not already using Google Calendar, if you have a lot of things going on in your life, obviously you can use it to put down what you're doing. But what I particularly like is that you can also you can merge it with other calendars. So you can, like my children are all now grown up, but we can together share calendars and see what's going on. So you and your husband could share a calendar, your teens could share calendars with you, and that way you can see what they're doing, and instead of having to constantly ask them. And it's just a good way to keep your entire family organized. If you enjoy being well organized and scheduling things, Todoist, and there are very many others, I'm just showing you one, but it's one of these ways where you can actually set your to-do list if you prefer to do it digitally. And obviously this will have an app that went with it, not just a desktop version. And you can schedule out your day and check off things as you do it, and it can set you reminders. And if this is the kind of thing that helps you get organized, go for it. My favorite tool for being organized is actually Trello. Trello here, it has various different boards that you can set up. Now, I'm a Science Olympiad coach, so you can see here, and this is a way you could use it with your own children even. We have for each different event, we have it set up like this, and then you have different cards. Like here we have the diseases, foodborne illnesses. I had various different tasks for them. This here are the students, so you could have all the kids in your family if it's maybe chores you wanted to set up, but you could put on there, or you could do different things for different children. You also can, inside it, if you're using this to schedule your kids, you can have a checklist. Now, we've used the checklist to list the students who have to actually do whatever we've told them to do. You could, on the other hand, have different cards for each child, and the checklist could be all the different things they have to do for the day, and as they go through, they check them all off, and then you can be sure that they've actually done it at the end. I also use it, go back to the boards, I use it for my business, but I also use it to plan my day and my month. And you can see I've actually got boards that go for quarter, month, week, and then today. And you can literally drag things across like that. So I can see what I'm working on. You can color code them. You can see I got lazy, don't always color code them. Sometimes I have multiple tasks, and actually I have a duplicate of that one right now. When you've finished with it, you move it across here. But when I'm going through and I'm checking each of my online classes to see how the students are doing, as I've done each, I can check it off to see that I've actually done it for the week. If I'm in the middle of doing it, like today, I have to go to the dentist. I drag that under doing, and then I'm finished, I add it to done. And then when you're completely finished, you can go in and archive all the cards in this list. Now, there's free training if you want to teach yourself to use Trello. It's also fairly obvious. You just set things up and you kind of go for it. I love it because it just keeps it organized. Also, you can do this collaboratively. And I do have, go to my boards, a meal planner, which I share with my daughters. We have different ones here for each different type of food. And then I have my own week, And so when I'm planning, I will pull the card across and I'll put it in what I'm planning to do for this week, and then I can go in and find the recipes attached, which is really useful. And this way I just have a visual representation of most of the meals that we make, so it's easier to choose from. Now to collaborating with others. One of my favorite tools, which not just for collaboration but for other things too, would be Google Forms. This is great when you're trying to get information from people. You can see all the different options they have here. Here I used this recently in one of my newsletters, where I quickly set up which type of online classes would you be interested in, and I shared that, and it's really, really easy to do anything in Google Forms, but it has so many different applications. You could even make little quizzes for your kids, though you probably don't want to do that just for one child. I use it constantly when I'm wanting to ask people things and get their responses. And it's just, you can use it, you can see, for event registration, t-shirt sign up. So if you're busy with clubs, this is also something that you might find useful. Scannable app, and if you don't have an iPhone, there'll be various other similar ones that you'll be able to find. But being able to scan, in fact, from your phone, not just take a picture, but actually scan, is very useful. So if you, for instance, needing to send a form across to another parent to sign, maybe you, again, organizing a club or something, if you scan the form in, don't take a picture, actually scan it, and then you save it as a PDF, it's very easy to email it to somebody else. This is the app that I use perhaps the most, because I'm forever needing to send a document to someone else, and I really enjoy it. It is free. Then, of course, you have all your sign-up websites, which you're probably familiar with. You have Sign Up Genius, Take Them a Meal, and then Evite. And again, these are useful when you're trying to collaborate with others, trying to plan who's going to do what, send out party invitations, etc. I haven't got links through these here, but you can just easily Google them and find those. And there are many other sites similar to that. And they really are very easy to use. Then, grading simplified. Google Docs is one of my favorite tools for doing that. If you are not already getting your children to submit their work to you as a Google Doc, I suggest you think about doing that when they're having to write essays. They're going to have to learn to start writing in a document anyway when they're in high school and going on to college, and it can make your life a lot simpler. And let me explain. I'm just going to give you, okay, this was just an agenda I was using for a Science Olympiad meeting, but I can show you here. Imagine this was an essay that your child wrote, or it was the outline that they'd done for an essay, and you want to make some comments. Well, all that you do is you just highlight it, and then you make comments here, and you say, are you sure this is a good idea? It's your best idea, or whatever you want to say to them. And when they then come in and look at the essay, they will have all your different comments written right here in the essay, instead of having to handwrite it. And then as they come along, they can then start to make changes and say, okay, I did that. And then you click on resolve and it goes away. So it's just a really easy way for you to give feedback to your child in a very quick and easy way. And in case you have bad handwriting like I do, it's particularly useful. How to keep track of everything? Well, of course, we have moved away from the old filing systems, but technical filing systems are just as important. I use a lot of cloud storage. One reason is if I lose everything on my computer, I know I still have everything in the cloud. Obviously, you've got Google Drive, iCloud, Dropbox, and Box. Some of these, like Google Drive and iCloud and even Dropbox, I'm not sure about Box, but they have free versions. And then as you need to use more, you may have to pay. I know I do have to pay for Google Drive. That's the one I've chosen, and I pay for some iCloud storage as well. But it's well worth getting, and then keep yourself organized with folders. Bookmarking is another thing. My favorite way of bookmarking is by using Evernote. I use this, it's free. My daughter got me into this, and let me just log in. And this is how I actually have folders for all my different classes that I teach, and I also use it just when I'm wanting to plan a vacation or anything else. And I will open a different notebook for each different main things. So my geography class, US history, if I'm doing a talk, like I know I'm thinking of doing one on growth mindset, and I create a notebook. Then inside each notebook, so we can go to, say, my US history. Inside that, you have all the different notes that you want to keep here. And so these are all different websites that I've bookmarked that I want to come back to. Well, I did come back to as I was creating the class. Now, the cool thing is that you can actually have a little clipper so that will actually just sit on your laptop, well, in your browser. And as you actually find a website, you just clip that particular website, and it will and then you just tell it where you want it to actually go, and it will automatically put it for you into Evernote. And you can get the app as well, so you can have it on your phone, and you could be reading on your phone, and you can save it from your phone, and it will all sync up. So it's really useful keeping track of things. Now, the next way you can use technology is for learning yourself. And as a homeschool mom, you need to be constantly learning. I like listening to podcasts. I don't have little children who are always in the car with me, so that does help. But if you go running, if you ever manage to get in the car by yourself or anywhere where you could spend a few minutes listening, find podcasts that will feed your soul and your mind. And it's a quicker way for me to learn things than reading blogs. I particularly like Note to Self, which is all about technology. I also enjoy Planet Money, which has everything related to finance and economy, but it's in a very broad sense. You don't have to love economics to love the show. Of course, there's the TED Radio Hour as well, and there are many homeschool blog podcasts that you can find as well. So just have a look around, download them onto your phone. If you have Bluetooth in your car, it's a really, really easy way just to listen as you're moving around. There are also ones, by the way, for children. Right now I'm focusing on you, but there are many also specially designed to be of educational value. So those are the kind of things you can listen to when your kids are in the car. Then the other way you can spend some time learning is by participating in a MOOC, a massive open online course. And these have become very popular in the last few years, and you may be aware of Coursera, edX, Udacity, and Udemy. Some of them have paid versions, some of them are still free. Everything has at least some parts that will be free. Well, Udemy, I'm not sure if there's free, but you can get very inexpensive classes there. I have taken some. I tried out Python on Coursera, and I've also done ones on how to teach virtually. But there's just about everything you can imagine. So it's just a fun way for you to keep your own brain alive and to be learning things. Linda is another online course, and you often find that your library will provide that for you free. The only problem with some of these is that they do have deadlines, and when you're trying to homeschool your own kids, sometimes that's hard. I did manage it, but some of them are also self-paced. Of course, the negative for that is that self-paced can also mean take forever, but you can find ones that will best suit your needs. Now let's move on to using technology for school. Firstly, you need to be sure that your kids have the tech skills they are going to need for life. Obviously, first of all in college, but then also when they're in the workplace. I haven't given specific links here, but the kind of things they need to be sure to be able to do is they need to be able to do research. They need to know how to find what they need online. They need to know if it's a credible source or not. They need to know how to do citations. They need to be sure not to plagiarize. They need to know how to find photos, etc., that they can use, what's in the public domain, what isn't, just the whole copyright. They need to understand that all. They need to know the basics of how to create files, how to save files, how to move them around, how to put them in folders, how to find their folders, how to take screenshots. I teach online classes, and constantly I'm surprised at how many upper level high schoolers will be struggling with these things, which I think are fairly basic. That you need to know how to create documents, whether it's on Google Docs or if you've got Word or whatever they're using. Spreadsheets, again, they need the basic understanding of how to deal with a spreadsheet. They obviously need to know how to create presentations. They need to know how to make graphics, and perhaps alter graphics. And they need to know how to work in an online classroom. Again, because I teach online, I see how some students struggle, and rather let them struggle when they're in high school, so that when they get to college and everything is nowadays submitted online, they will be familiar with the process. When they're in high school and middle school, the teachers will be understanding and be working with them. Your college professors, maybe not so much. Schools today are using online systems more and more. I know my youngest daughter has actually gone to a public school. She has to submit her work all online too. So this is something they need to learn. If you feel overwhelmed and feel that you don't know how to teach them this, be sure, first of all, that you enroll them in some online class or a dual enrollment class that has an online component to it, which most of them will do because they will expect you to turn your work in online. But you can also get them to take classes that will teach them the skills if you feel you can't or don't know how to point them in the right direction. A little shout out for my own class. I do teach a class in Fun Academy. I teach a 2-semester class for 7th through 12th graders on digital literacy, computer applications. There are also shorter ones that I'm working on right now, and by the time this is out, hopefully those will be out too, and they will be able to do 5-week or 4-week ones in our web-based unit studies, where they'll be able to learn just specific tasks like how to create videos or how to work with Google products, things like that, how to work with graphics. So you can choose to enroll them for those. So the short ones will be great for over the summer. The long one, if you feel your child really needs an in-depth in a lot of different topics. But I would suggest that more fun than just making them sit down and learn how to do things is start to incorporate a lot of tech in their daily assignments. I use creative assignments as many times as I can with my online students. I seldom will get them to write an essay, but I'll rather get them to actually present what they have learned in some fun way. So the first thing is to know is how to do presentations. You can obviously use your PowerPoint Keynote, Google Slides, and Prezi, which is the one that kind of, let me take you into it to show you. If you're not familiar with Prezi, it's a different type of format. I'll take you into this one here. And this is a more fluid type of presentation. It's as you kind of go through your presentations, it will load all the content here, and then as you go through the presentation, it merges you in and out. You can see it. Your students can have fun getting it turned around, and as it's just a completely different way of doing things. So just to give you some idea, and all these websites have free tutorials, but again, as I say, my class will actually teach all these things if you want them to sign them up for that. Videos. Powtoon is a lot of fun. This is, you can see here, it's going to come up in a second, but this is your little animated videos that you can get your kids to make. And so you can give them a concept. Maybe you want to get them to show something that's happened in history or do a book report, and they can do it like this instead, and then you can share it with family and friends to show what your kid has learned, not only just in the knowledge, but also just in being able to present on technology. Kids love making those. Adobe Spark is another place they can learn, and Animoto. I'm not going to go through all of those. Websites, I used to get my kids to sometimes do a big project, for instance, on a foreign country, and make a website to do it. These are all really easy websites that they can play around with and make fun things, which again they can share. They could also blog, so a longer project, you might want them to blog their thoughts as you go through a book, and write little pieces each day, and there are your main blogging websites. Posters, another fun way. I like to do this, say, for geography, to make a poster of the country, but we've also done this in like World War I and World War II, having to make propaganda posters. I use it, you can see here, to make my own graphics, but it's free, and you can they can very easily pick a template or just start from their own, and drag and drop. And even people like me who are very uncreative can manage to do this. Adobe Spark is similar, and as I said, it has both posters, and you can also do the videos with it. Story Jumper lets you create an ebook. Again, I got my class to do this, and they've made ones in Eastern Europe, which have been a lot of fun. They're very graphic, because you're going to put in photos as well as text. This is good for younger children as well as with older children. With my older children, I actually got them to try and condense down the knowledge and create books for younger children, because these are very much storybooks, so they look like that. They're still fun for an older kid to do. Then here's another one of my favorite sites. It's called Class Tools, and it has a lot of different things that you can do on here. Fakebook lets them literally create a type of Facebook post. Fun to do with history, when you can get them to create fake books of like the presidents, etc. That's one that I use quite a lot. You can make this up for them to play with questions that as they go around the Pac-Man, they play it, or you can get them to create a game using what they have learned. So they essentially create a quiz. There are quite a few games like that here. Connect Four is another game that they can actually create. So you can just look around here and see the different things. Here's another quiz game that they can create, and they can make it and then get a sibling to play it. You can also sometimes get them to do graphic representations, where they have to find maybe take two different characters in a novel. They have to put the different personality traits, and then say which ones both characters have. And there's jigsaw puzzle as well that you can make. So there's a lot of different things on here that you can come and look around and see. Oh, there's an essay, there's text generating as well, which you can also have text between a couple of characters. So those are just fun things for kids to do, and it still will test whether they understand something. It's just a more creative way, and they're playing with tech at the same time. Here's a shout out for Techy Homeschool Mom. She has a great website called Techy Homeschool Mom, and she has a lot of online unit studies, which is a fun way to introduce your kids to digital projects if you're not that good with knowing what to do. Again, I also have some that are geared for through 8th graders, and they're also web-based, as Techy Homeschool Moms are. Mine you can just find on my website under unit studies, but this particular one I'm wanting to point out about Techy Homeschool Mom, because it's an actual guide to digital student projects. So just as the things that I've just shown you, she will take you through different websites. There may be some overlap, but she has other ideas of ways that you can create digital student projects. This is a paid course, and that is a referral link of mine, but I have seen it. She had it open for a day so that we could all go and have a look. It is great, and that's why I also know it's going to be different to what I've told you here. So I would strongly urge you to go and have a look, and you'll have even more ideas for things to do with your kids. Now, just some more websites and apps. These here I'm focusing on when your students need more practice in a subject, or they're needing to revise. Maybe they're high schoolers and they are at a co-op and they have to take a test and they're wondering how to practice, or they're writing an AP exam. So here's just some ideas. First of all, obviously use YouTube. You all know that. These are just a couple of my favorites. I use Crash Course a lot in my online classes. Six Science is fun. ACDC Leadership is economics. Particularly good they're very good for high school economics. He's very creative, uses modern day films. He uses them to actually show things. He also just teaches in a very creative way. I use him a lot in our economics class, and also use Hip Hugh's History, who's also got a lot of energy and fun, and a fun way for students to revise. He also has AP revision. Then if your students do need to learn a lot of facts, you're probably aware of most of these: Study Stack, Quizlet, and Memrise, but they can see which ones work well for them. And obviously Quizlet lets them create a lot of games out of it. You can both create your own flashcards, or you can also use ones that are already there. Some more ideas. Obviously, Khan Academy is a great place to practice your math free of charge. Khan Academy also now has free SAT prep, and it has a lot of programming classes, and they've been adding more things like art as well. So if you haven't been on there recently, take a look. You can create a classroom and add your children in so that you can actually watch their progress through like math and see that they actually are doing extra work that you may assign them. And it's a good place. Google Earth is fantastic. You can take your kids into the geography you're studying. Travel by Drone is another one of my favorite sites where you actually can find a lot of drone footage over places. So if you're studying Madagascar, you could first go into Google Earth and walk around Madagascar a bit. Then you could take it to an aerial view and see drone footage. And then you can go to live cams. The link here on the PDF is going to take you to animal live cams, and I love sitting and watching exotic animals, or not so exotic, around the world and seeing what they're doing. So those are all ways for you to use tech to really expand on what you're providing in your homeschool classroom and really get the kids to experience things in a way that wasn't possible before. Duolingo is a great app for language learning. You're probably aware of it. It's both an app on a computer and you can put it on your phone. It is free. It has lots of different languages, so whatever you're learning, you can basically take it along with you for extra practice. I love vocabulary.com as a place for children to expand on their vocab. It does keep coming back with the same ones that they're struggling with, and it has this, you can start at younger ages and move all the way to through high school. And it's adaptive, so it will constantly give you harder things as they go along. If you instead of choose its own words, or you can actually pick word lists yourself, and you can actually create them too if you want to do that. iCivics, I use this a lot in my online government class. Just a lot of very fun games that are really educational. So it's just there's just a lot of them. You can go and take a look around and get your kids to play and learn more about government. So I'm going to stop there. I've probably overwhelmed you already. But if you're wanting to find me online, say I do teach at Funda Academy and use many of these in my classes. I do have both unit studies, which are just 4 weeks long. I have programming classes, and then I have semester-long ones. And I'm not the only teacher. We have a lot of other teachers too, so there are more topics beyond what I actually know. You're also welcome to follow me in my social media accounts or to email me, and I do try to post techie links regularly, especially of course on Facebook. And if you go onto our website, you will also be able to sign up for our newsletter, which just comes out at present once a month, and I do at the top of that always have links to websites that I think other parents will enjoy. Well, I hope you found this useful.